Just everyone, think back to what you were doing back in the 2000s, even 2010, where your life was just before these Tory pricks took over. Where was your life? What were you doing? What was your life like? What was your cost of living like? And then tell me that you need to vote. You need to tactically vote for the Tories. Go vote for reform. Go vote for reform. And if you're on the other end of the political spectrum, vote for the Greens. I don't care. Just don't vote for these Tory pricks, please. Greetings and welcome. I hope you all had a lovely Christmas. Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you all done what I done over the Christmas period and just took a few days out, away from politics, away from social media, and just spent some quality time with family and friends. That's what I done. Everyone needs it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And ironically, when I first came back to the YouTube channel after the Christmas break, I posted a few pictures, just some family pictures, just wishing everyone a Merry Christmas on my YouTube channel. And I got this comment. This was the first thing I saw when I came back to my YouTube channel after my little Christmas break. It absolutely astounds me that people think like this. I mean, what does this guy actually want? So we're supposed to live in some sort of constant state of mourning because there's war and famine in the world. I mean, don't get me wrong, of course, I can't stand what's going on in Gaza and my heart bleeds for the people that are caught up in this conflict. But we can't celebrate Christmas because there's war and famine going on. Where does it end? I mean, if that war ends, what about Russia and Ukraine? Can we celebrate Christmas until there's no more fighting in Myanmar or Libya? I don't understand what this guy wants. What does he want? It blows my mind that people are generally sitting there at home thinking this. That no one should be having any fun, no one should be celebrating anything, no one should be enjoying Christmas because people are dying around the world. Look, my heart goes out, but people are always going to be dying. There's always going to be war and famine going on. Blows my mind. Anyway, I'm digressing. My question today, what I want to talk about as I drive out of Brighton here, I'm going to drive towards Hayward Heath. We'll see how far we get. Will this be the last Tory Christmas? Will this be the last Christmas where the Tories are in charge? It's an interesting question. Sunak could possibly drag it out. I think the very latest he can drag it out is January 2025. If I'm right, I'm in the wrong lane. I don't want to go this way. Okay, we're going this way, folks. I'll cut back over to the other side. He could possibly drag it out. I think the very latest is 2025 January. But this could possibly be the last Tory Christmas. Which is interesting, isn't it? And I've always, on my previous videos, I've tried to really push the message that I honestly now don't care who you vote for, as long as you don't vote for these pricks. Because there's no justification for it. There is not one single justification for voting for the Tories if you're a normal, average, working class person. If you're super rich and your main concern is inheritance tax and things like that, I understand why you vote Tory. But for the normal working person, anyone on minimum wage, anyone that's just doing an average job, there is not one single justification for voting for the Tories. And I don't care who you vote for. I understand why people have their reservations of voting for Labour. Vote for the Greens. Vote for reform. Vote for reform. Just don't vote for the Tories. There's not one justification for voting for the Tories. Everything is worse. Everything is worse since they've been in power. NHS is worse. Education, schools are worse. Public transport is worse. Potholes in the ground are worse. Homelessness is worse. Child poverty is worse. Poverty in general is worse. Food bank explosion. Drug and alcohol addiction. Everything. Pick every single aspect of British life and it is worse since the Tories have been in power. If you can prove to me that there is one aspect of life that's better, vote for the Tories. Go for it. But there isn't. There isn't. And there is no justification. So like I say, vote for who you want. Go vote for reform. Because this lot, if this is the last Tory Christmas, and I really hope it is, this lot needs to be obliterated from this country. They need to, I don't want them to lose the election, and they shouldn't just lose the election. they should get what's coming to them and what they deserve through ruining this country for so many years. They need to be obliterated. They need to be absolutely destroyed. And if my theory goes into place, like I've just talked about, that no working person, no person on an average salary, no person that's on minimum wage, not one single vote should be cast for this lot, if that goes to fruition. If people are actually sensible that are on minimum wage, things like this, they should not get one single vote casted for them, and they should be absolutely annihilated. They should be the third party. They should, and that's what they deserve, because nothing is better in this country. Now, of course, we know that that they will get votes from that demographic that I just said, from working people. Of course they will, because they'll still cling on to this same theory that I'm hearing people shouting out and already typing in the comment section right now, that Labour will be worse. Labour will be worse. We still have to vote for the Tories. They've been dreadful. Nothing is better. Everything is worse. But Labour will be worse. I think a lot of people forget what life was like before the Tories. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit. I'm going to share a few stories and a few scenarios. You know, it's been a long time, 13 years. A lot happens in 13 years. And I generally do believe that people really forget what life was like before the Tories. Now, it wasn't perfect. Of course it wasn't perfect. You know, but it was a damn sight better than what we have right now. And 13 years of austerity, 13 years of public services cuts, it sort of slowly builds, doesn't it? Where you kind of just get used to it. The British population now, after a slow creep of 13 years of austerity and public service cuts, it just becomes the norm. You just get used to it. You get used to the fact that waiting lists are so long in the NHS. You get used to the fact that you're seeing more and more people homeless on the streets when you walk through town. You're getting used to the fact of food banks in every small town. You're getting used to the fact of child poverty and really skimping and saving to pay the bills. You get used to these things over 13 years of it slowly coming in. And like I say, you forget what life was like before the Tories. Now, I'm going to go back. I'm going to share some stories. I'm going to go back to an 18-year-old Van Man Talks back in 2002, all the way back in 2002. I tried college for a little bit, but I'm not academic. It's not my thing. I'm dyslexic. School was always tough for me. So because it was tough, I decided to be the class joker. That was me. And I never really took school seriously. I tried college for a bit, but what I really wanted to do was just get out there and work and earn money, because, you know, I liked the idea of going out, going to gigs, even travelling and stuff like that. So I went straight into a job, and in 2002 I was working a minimum wage job. Does anyone remember a small jeans store called Madhouse, where you used to get your cheap Levi jeans? Yeah, I worked in a Worthing Madhouse with my mate Moz, and we decided that we'd had enough of living at home, and we went and got ourselves a flat. So back in 2002, both working minimum wage jobs, we could afford a 2-bedroom flat in the middle of Worthing town centre. We could afford to go out and drink every single weekend. We could afford to go to gigs. We could afford to go to trips to London to go and see concerts. We could afford to go to music festivals every year. We could even afford to go on a holiday to Greece. All on minimum wage back in 2002. Other aspects of life back in 2002. I seem to remember one homeless person in Worthing town centre. He used to sit outside McDonald's, used to say hello. Sometimes I'd grab him a cup of coffee when I went in for my lunch. One person, homelessness. I seem to remember having an NHS dentist. I seem to remember no problem getting a doctor's appointment. I also remember when the doctor used to come to your home. Do you remember that? When you were at school, when you were off sick at school, and the doctor used to come to your home and come and see you. Do you remember that? And this is what I'm saying. I think people too easily forget what life was like before the Tories. You know, it's so long ago. It's so long ago now. It wasn't perfect. Of course it wasn't perfect. And more to the factual side of things as well. When you think back to house prices back in 2002, average house was about £100,000. The average yearly salary was about £20,000. 5 times your yearly salary. Now it's 9 times your yearly salary. The average house is about 300,000. The average wage is about 35k. You know, these practical things where it was actually realistic back in 2002 to be able to save and buy yourself a house. Not now. Now, I know a lot of you will be thinking, well, yeah, 2002, you know, that was like the boom years. That was, you know, long before the financial crisis in 2008. Well, let's skip through my life. Let's go to my life in 2010, the last waning years of the Gordon Brown Labour government, 2 years after the financial crisis. I was living with my wife-to-be at the time in a flat in Kemp Town, Brighton, seafront. We paid £750 a month for a 2-bedroom flat on Brighton, Kemp Town, seafront. I was, again, working a minimum wage job at the time in Foot Locker. My wife was a healthcare assistant at the hospital. We had a son, another mouth to feed, and we could afford to pay the rent. We could afford to go out for a drink at the weekend and go for a restaurant. We could afford to take our son out at the weekends, to day trips. We could afford holidays to the Philippines. We could afford all of this on a minimum wage job back in 2010. Now, going back to the practicalities of that year as well, I'm driving, I'm going through in my head, but I've got the stats, so I will put them up on screen. The average rent was around $750 for a flat in Brighton. Now it's like a grand more. It's like $1,700 now to rent that same flat on Brighton seafront. $1,700 for a 2-bedroom flat on Brighton seafront. Minimum wage will pay you about £1,000 now. It's absolutely mental. House prices, going back to house prices, like I say, I'm driving, so I haven't got the exact stats, but I know that back in 2010 it was 6 times your average salary. The average house price was 6 times your average salary. It's now 9 times your average salary. And we really do forget what life was like before the Tories. And I just wanted a quick reminder, maybe you've got your own stories, put your own stories down in the comments down below. I'd love to know. It wasn't perfect. I say, it wasn't perfect. There was still poverty, there was still homelessness. Labour really never dealt with the housing crisis properly. It was better. You could, realistically, it would take you a while, but on a minimum wage you could eventually save for a house. But they should have done a lot better with social housing and council housing to make that more affordable for people. But it was so much better than what we've got now. Jesus Christ. I mean, this is what you need to remember when it comes round, when we come back round to that demographic of working people in this country, tempted to vote for the Tories because Labour will be worse. Just think back, please. Just everyone, think back to what you were doing back in the 2000s, even 2010, where your life was, just before these Tory pricks took over. Where was your life? What were you doing? What was your life like? What was your cost of living like? And then tell me that you need to vote, you need to tactically vote for the Tories. Go vote for reform. Go vote for reform. And if you're on the other end of the political spectrum, vote for the Greens. I don't care. Just don't vote for these Tory pricks. Please. Please. Just don't do it. Don't. They need to be annihilated. They need to be destroyed and wiped off the face of the planet for what they've done to this country. Think about what they've done. Think about every single aspect of life that is now worse that I listed earlier. There isn't one that's better. And there isn't even one that is the same. There is no aspect of life that is the same as 2010. Every single aspect of life is worse. And the best Christmas present next year for Christmas will be these fucking cunts. Gone. I hate them. Oh dear, I'll leave you with this beautiful view over Ditchling there. Please let me know your thoughts. If you like the video, click a like, and if you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe up top. What's your story? Give me your stories of pre-Tory Britain. What was your life like? Till next time, take care.